Now recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman. 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lyons, what guidance have you given to your agents about asking people walking on the streets of America to show proof of citizenship?
Sir, as I stated earlier, the men and women of ICE, deportation officers, special agents, we conduct targeted intelligence-driven operation. We don't walk around on the streets asking people about their American citizenship.
Really? So all of those individual American citizens who have been randomly asked are lying. Is that what you're saying?
Sir, if the men and women of ICE are conducting an investigation, whether it be for Title 8 immigration enforcement or Title 18 criminal enforcement, they'll ask someone their nationality.
Right, but that's not targeted because they're asking all sorts of American citizens, including off-duty law enforcement. Now, have you directed at any point your agents under the Supreme Court's racial profiling ruling to only stop non-white people and those who look like immigrants to ask for their citizenship papers?
No, sir, I haven't.
Now, you are aware, of course, and there's well-documented, numerous well-documented instances of people, American citizens, being asked to show and prove their citizenship. Do you know what other regimes in the 20th century required similar proof of citizenship?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sir, there was various nefarious regimes that did that.
Is Nazi Germany one?
Yes, but
Is the Soviet Union one?
I honestly,
sir, I'm asking the questions. Is the Soviet Union one?
Yes, sir, but I totally, this is the wrong type of questioning you
No,
should ask me.
I'll tell you what the wrong type
But
of
actually,
thing
sir,
is. Sir,
is
it's
the
my
Holocaust
time.
Museum
Reclaiming my time, sir.
If you want to go see
Reclaiming my
Nazism,
time,
that's what
Mr.
it is.
Chairman.
It's not the men and women of ICE that are out there doing it every day. So to say that the men and women of ICE are
Mr. Chairman, I'm reclaiming my time. I would like my
wrong.
time back, please. Please give me another 15 seconds because he was unnecessarily speaking. You said in your opening statement that references to ICE as the Gestapo or the secret police encourages threats against ICE agents.
100%.
The problem is you have it backwards, sir. People are simply making valid observations about your tactics, which are un-American and outright fascist. So I have a simple suggestion. If you don't want to be called a fascist regime or secret police, then stop acting like one. But people are simply just observing what they are seeing. And that's why people are making those comments. Now, I was a prosecutor for 10 years, prosecuted mob bosses, organized crime, violent criminals, the actual worst of the worst. Not a single criminal law enforcement agent that I worked with wore a mask to conceal their identity. But your department, which is a civil law enforcement agency, is defending the use of masks by your agents because of a so-called rise in threats and assaults against your officer. Now, you said in your opening testimony that assaults against ICE officers are up by more than 1,400%, which is now even more than the 1,300% that your gaslighting spokesperson, Tricia from Ohio, has recently been citing. But here's the problem. There are two separate, very detailed, very thorough investigative reports based on your own data that both conclude that assaults against ICE officers are up about 25%, which is far less, of course, than you assert and far less than you would expect from an agency that has more than doubled its hiring and has an even greater increase in arrests. Now, why is that a problem, Mr. Lyons? It's a problem because the explanation that your agents are wearing masks because of fear of assaults or doxing is outright bogus. You and your untrained, unqualified, unvetted, unidentified agents are intentionally terrorizing our cities and communities all over this country to avoid accountability for their excessive force and their lawless actions. That is why you're wearing masks. So no one can hold you accountable, and you know that the FBI is not going to, because notwithstanding all of the investigations all of you say are going on, the Department of Justice and the FBI has stated they are not investigating those two murders. This is not the America that I know and love. This is not the America my immigrants came to. And it's long past time that you rein in your out-of-control agency and start following the law and the Constitution, and I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Crane, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting being in this hearing today, where my Democrat colleagues continue to demonize ICE and Homeland Security. I think history and context are very important here. It's not lost on most of the American public that my Democrat colleagues actually caused this entire crisis with their open border policies that they all voted for, letting in close to 15 million illegal aliens. I also want to go through real quick some numbers of ICE deportations with other presidents who I believe both you, Mr. Scott, and you, Mr. Lyons, have worked for. Under President Clinton, 12 million illegal aliens were deported and removed from this country, some voluntary, some departures. Key, no riots. Under President Bush, 2 million, no riots. Obama, who was often referred to as the deporter-in-chief, 5 million, including returns, no riots. President Trump in his first term, 2 million deported, no riots. President Biden, 4 million, including expulsions, varying by estimates, no riots. President Trump again this year, 625,000 with 2 million voluntary leaving through CBP Home app. Mr. Scott, can you explain why these other presidents that you work for, both Democrat and Republican, have deported far more people than this president and we've seen no riots?
I would say it has a lot to do about rhetoric and misleading the American public about what's really going on and how important border security really is to this nation.
Let's talk also about my Democrat colleagues and something they also supported, and that's these sanctuary cities. I think that's very important, and I don't think a lot of Americans really understand these sanctuary cities. Mr. Scott, Mr. Lyons, is it true that you would rather send your officers into a jail to get some of these illegal alien criminals? Is it safer for your agents and also the illegal alien criminal if your officers are able to go into a jail instead of having to go out and find them on the street? Mr. Lyons, I'll start with you.
Yes, sir, it would be. You wouldn't see the amount of law enforcement officers involved in immigration operations.
Right. How about you, Mr. Scott?
I 100% agree with the director, and just as importantly, it would allow me to put more agents back on the border to prevent people from getting in here in the first place.
Let's also talk about these riots. Mr. Scott, Mr. Lyons, do you guys remember any riots, when for some of these victims that were assaulted and victimized by illegal alien criminals like Nate Baker, Laken Riley, Fletcher Harris, Skylar Provenza, Ivory Smith? I've got a whole list of them. Do you remember any riots from our Democrats or their constituents when any of these American citizens were victimized by illegal alien criminals?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why do you think that is? Because that's the question that I get asked all the time. Congressman, why do the Democrats care more about illegal alien criminals than they care about these American citizens, many of them who are young, have their entire lives ahead of them, didn't show up to a protest, right, to obstruct federal law enforcement. They're just going about their daily lives and they get victimized by people who aren't supposed to be here. Why do you think they don't care about American citizens?
I cannot speculate, but when I look at the chaos that it creates and the corrosive nature that it creates, I go beyond the politics of the United States and I look at our nation-state adversaries like Iran, Russia, and China and their influence on social media to keep this negative discourse going. And I think this is a much bigger issue than we're actually admitting that it is in here.
I want to tie this together to something that's very pertinent that's going to happen this week here in Congress, where the American people are going to see the bookend of what's going on. We are going to attempt to pass the Save America Act, okay? Which requires documentary proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote. It imposes photo ID requirements to vote, and it penalizes officials who do not enforce these requirements. And you won't see You won't see most of these folks over here on the other side that are demonizing you guys right now. You will not see them support it. So they let millions and millions of illegal aliens into the country. They set up these sanctuary cities so you can't go enforce these federal laws that are on the books that Congress has passed. And now they won't vote to stop these illegals from voting in our elections. If the American people don't understand what this whole thing is about, it's about one word, and it always has been, and that is power. They want power, and they need these illegals to vote in our elections. That's why they don't care about the fraud either, because they need those votes as well. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from Illinois, Ms. Ramirez, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you.